Missouri Valley Conference action, and Cal, both clubs have lost 2 in a row. The Birds on and run away. Ball tipped in the offensive zone by the Shockers. Gafrovich, their scoring leader right now. Of course, they lost John Cooper with a severe knee injury the 8th game into the season. He was an all-conference second-team choice a year ago. And the loss of Cooper has really hurt this ball club. Wiggins holding it, working on Vandegaard, just underway. Gafrovich out front. Kid out of Pennsylvania. Off on the left wing to George for the long three-point jumper, and he buried it.
Wichita State showed real good patience that time. They got a wide-open jump shot.
Redbirds across. It's Richard Thomas. Here's Vandegaard. Vandegaard works inside to Wimhater. Nice drive to the glass. Good execution there, Cal.
Good back cut. Found him. Easy basket.
3-2 ball game. Wichita with the 1-point lead. Vandegaard overplayed inside against Wiggins. And it's going to be called for the reach-in foul as Mike tried for the steal. Just a little bit overzealous, but a pretty good attempt at a gamble. Boy, I'll tell you, this is looks like a mash unit out here tonight. Official Bill Westbrooks, I notice, has a cast on his left wrist and arm. So the knee injuries and wrist injuries and so forth and so on. Back to basketball. Inside is Wiggins for the Shockers. Gafrovich working down low. Short push off the glass and in by Claudius Johnson. Johnson 6'6", 235, a sophomore from Queens, New York. LaSalle area high school, LaSalle Academy, actually.
That would be a real good matchup inside between him and Wilson. They're both about the same size and same strength, it looks like.
Richard Thomas at three-point range. Rebound, struggle for, and we thought maybe ISU would have a pretty good shot at the boards against this ball club, but thus far that hasn't been the case. George penetrates, kicks the ball off. Here's the dribble drive. Kahn to the basket, played at Jacksonville High School in Illinois. Rebound, Claudius Johnson, knocked away by Wimhater. Nice play by Todd. Birds playing straight up man-to-man. Wimhater has a tough assignment tonight on Gafrovich, the scoring leader. And we're going to have a foul on Elvin Flores of the Redbirds.
Rick Kahn was an inside player in high school, a real power player when we played against him when I had the teams at Lincoln. But he's obviously more of a face-the-basket player now, and he looks like he's dropped some weight.
He moved into the starting lineup when John Cooper went down with the injury, and played for Mel Rostio down in Jacksonville for the Crimsons. George out front, pulls it up, and the ball knocked away, stolen by Vandegaard, taken back by George for Wichita to the glass. Nice play, great hustle play by Robert George. He has 5 points out of the first 7 in the ball game for the Shockers. They lead it here 7-2 over the Redbirds at Redbird Arena. Richard Thomas, backliner for the Birds from Whitney Young in Chicago with a 12.5 scoring average. To Elvin Flores. Flores now working on Kahn inside. Flores back out to Thomas. Gafrovich has the defensive assignment on Thomas. Wimhater is taking Gafrovich defensively from Illinois State. Here's the lob, trying to get the ball into Reggie Wilson to Flores. A lot of heat inside on Wilson, as we might well expect, Cal.
Yes, they're making the entry passes very difficult, and we just have to have patience and swing the basketball until the passing lanes open up.
Nice intercept there by Vandegaard. Birds have a 4-on-2 break. Here's Reggie to the hoop. Offensive foul.
Good position by Kahn that time inside.
Rick Kahn, as we told you, is from Jacksonville. He goes 6'5", a 210-pound sophomore, 3.6 average, rebounding average of, just about 2.5 per ball game. But a fairly recent starter. They have a 6'11" player in Phil Mendelson from Grand Junction, Colorado, who was a starter for them for a while. I'm sure we'll see him. It's a 7-4 ball game here. Wichita State on the lead. Attired in the traveling black, trimmed in gold and white. Wiggins to the glass shot, nicely blocked by Vandegaard. Vandegaard's made 2 or 3 big defensive plays already. Richard Thomas on the fly. All taken out by Kahn. Illinois State at this point getting just 1 shot. Down the floor quickly to Wiggins, and he travels. Traveling violation on Michael Wiggins out of Decatur, Georgia. 6'7", 215-pound freshman, Southwest DeKalb High School. 6.8 scoring norm on the season. This Wichita State ball club is relatively young. All right, Illinois State inbounds the basketball. Up with it is Richard Thomas. Richard being hounded out front by Robert George. He didn't start the Bradley game. He was disciplined for the first half of that game. Apparently something he and Coach Cohen had a little disagreement on, and came back into the second half, but he normally is their starting point guard. From the side, by Flores. Rebound. Kicked out here. Grafrovich for Wichita. Down quickly to George. George lost the ball. Down underneath. George double pumps. ISU wanted a traveling call, but didn't get it.
He got away with a walk that time. Wichita State's causing a lot of problems down on ISU's offensive end. They're switching on everything outside. We haven't made the adjustments with our screeners yet.
Now, Bob Bender mentioned that this club probably runs more at you offensively than anybody they play.
They really are. They're jumping up on top, and every time the ball, there are two people by the ball, they're either running a switch or they're jumping and then recovering.
Robert George out of Irvington, New Jersey picks up the foul. Let's see it again here. Yeah, no question about it. Apparently got it with the knee is what the call was. And we have a timeout taken here at Redbird Arena. It's a 9-4 battle, 15-56. Cagle is checked in at a guard. Vandegaard from the side, won't go down. Rebound deflected underneath the Wilhainer. Todd gets it up and in. Well, the Birds got a break there. A forced turnover in the defensive zone of Wichita, and ISU converts and pulls back within 3.
It looked like another one of those one-handed rebounds that coaches hate. The ball got loose.
On the perimeter, soft jumper by Wiggins doesn't go. Todd Cagle there. The kid from Normal Community battles, gets the ball off the defensive iron down the floor to Elvin Flores. Elvin on the fly, back to Cagle. Cross court here to Wimhainer. The kid from Quincy puts it on the deck, goes to the glass. Dishes the pass back out front to Cagle. Right corner to Flores. Won't go. Rebound up and in. Back to guard.
Excellent ball movement that time, resulted in a weak side rebound basket.
And ISU is back within a point at 9-8 as the Shockers come across in the person of Robert George. He's the point guard. Grafrovich is their shooting guard, actually. George on the drive, hangs the ball on the outer end. Nice rebound. Mike Vandegaard once again for the Birds. Down to Cagle. Here's Wimhainer. Wimhainer against Grafrovich. Cross-court pass. Now Grafrovich is taking Wimhainer defensively. Wimhainer has the assignment on him when he's out there. Todd Cagle being guarded by George. Low, Vandegaard working hard on the inside and drew the foul. He got matched up with Michael Wiggins. Of course, they've got Claudius Johnson working defensively on Reggie Wilson. And as a result, Wiggins picked up the foul.
Did a good job of getting Vandegaard posted up inside. Did a good job of spinning, and when help came over, he actually kept the ball down too low, but got lucky and got the call.
Well, he gave it to Claudius Johnson. Wiggins originally had him, but number 24, Claudius Johnson, reached over and picked up the personal foul, and Vandegaard will be at the line with a chance to give Illinois State the lead. Mike Vandegaard is averaging 5.2 points a game, 6'7", 190, a freshman.
I think the good job Mike's been doing is defensively and on the boards as well as blocking shots. He's been a little bit of an intimidator inside, which ISU hasn't had.
He's had a couple of ball games he hasn't scored much.
He can't shoot the ball, but again, he's a freshman and the shot selection always isn't the best, but he's doing those other things that keeps him in the lineup.
Do you think he has the potential to be a shooter?
Well, it's still too early to tell, but he seems to have a pretty confident stroke when he's shooting the ball well, so that's what you look at first.
Chuck Barnes in the ball game for the Redbirds. Richard Thomas back in. Second throw is no good, as you noted. Reggie Wilson had a crack at it. Ball was deflected out of bounds, and a little bit of controversy at the baseline. The fans not in total agreement. But the ball goes to Wichita State. They've made a lineup change. In the Shocker lineup comes K.C. Hunt from Chesterland, Ohio, a 6'1", 185-pound freshman guard. And here is Hunt bringing the ball up against Richard Thomas. Out front to Michael Wiggins, couple of freshmen. Now holding high is Patrice Scott, who has just come in the ball game, as Coach Mike Cohen has made 3 lineup changes. Grafrovich now playing on the point. In the middle to Johnson for the turnaround. Nothing but net for Claudius Johnson, the kid from the Queens, New York. Pops it in to make it 11-9, 2-point lead to Wichita. Just really barely underway in this one. About 14 minutes left to go in the first half of play. Art Kimball and Cal Hubbard with you, and the Birds throw it away. Barnes' pass for Williams was overthrown.
Williams was open as well. It's just a little bit too high and outside.
Again, patience and confidence are two things that go together, and Illinois State has been lacking in both in the games played thus far.
They did see this. They did. Excuse me, Art. They did see the situation that time, though, and I know that's something Coach Bender would be pleased about.
Wiggins being checked off by Chuck Barnes. Low slam dunk over the top. Claudius Johnson with a tomahawk slam. The kid from Queens, New York, 6'6", 235-pound sophomore who can really get up there.
How do you teach that?
Well, I don't think you do you? 13-9. Here's Richard Thomas to Reggie Wilson. Wilson is fouled by Johnson on the inside. Reggie had the slam dunk all lined up, as you saw, had it in his sights, and Up there was Claudius Johnson, who blocked the slam dunk and also committed the personal foul.
It was an excellent block. It really was. I think he caught Reggie off guard.
See it again, Cal.
He got a lot of ball on it, but he must have gotten him with the body.
It's a big league play by Johnson.
It really was. He came out of nowhere, too. I thought Reggie had him free and clear.
Mike Cohen over in the Wichita State bench. Going to take Claudius Johnson out now, and he is questioning just a bit. There you see it again.
Comes from the opposite side. Pretty smooth.
Yep, blocked it twice, though. Reggie's at the line shooting a pair for Illinois State. First point for Reggie Wilson tonight, who has upped his average to 17.1 points a game. Had a 25-point effort here Saturday in a lackluster ball game overall against Southwest Missouri. But a good game for Reggie. Second throw misses. Shockers with it. That's Hunt, number 11. Banging his body up there against Richard Thomas a little bit. Grafovich in the corner to Hunt. They swing it back to Thomas now. Inside, Hunt. Shot was partially deflected. Good defensive effort. I believe that was Xavier Williams who got out on him that trip. ISU down the floor. Here's Chuck Barnes. Freshman from Chicago to Todd Cagle, and Cagle is called for walking with the basketball. Illinois State making those little errors that really negate them getting that offense in gear, but basically they played pretty well offensively thus far. They're down 13-10, 12:52 for the half.
Excuse me for saying that, but that was a pretty picky call.
Yeah.
He didn't get any advantage, and I'm not sure his foot slid anyway. It just looked a little awkward.
I think that's one of those automatics sometimes. Battle of man-to-man defenses thus far tonight as Robert George brings it up for Wichita. Shockers work low. Here is Kahn. Kahn being covered by Chuck Barnes defensively. Scott Taylor's in the ISU lineup. He has a defensive assignment inside on Michael Wiggins. Ball goes to Wiggins. They look out front to Patrice Scott. And what are we going to have? Did he dribble on the baseline?
No, it was a double dribble. He put it down again after he dribbled it when he caught the ball and then tried to do it one more time.
Illinois State's trapping pretty well, Cal, out of that man-to-man. If they can get somebody hemmed in and use that sideline or baseline as a third man, it's been very, very effective. But defensively, it's been a pretty good ball game for them.
Their help side's been getting over quicker to come over and help.
That's what I was trying to say. I was trying to sound like a coach. Help side, huh? Okay.
You don't stutter enough to sound like a coach.
Here's Richard Thomas to Cagle. Birds have it. They need 3 to tie. Here's a pass intercepted by Robert George. Barnes going to cut him off, and he doesn't. Robert George has had a big, big first half so far. 9 points out of his team's 15.
He anticipated that pass. He knew they were going to try to swing the ball, and Todd turned and threw the ball, and there he was.
He's from Southeastern Community College in West Burlington, Iowa. Came as a junior college transfer. Chuck Barnes can't get it to stick, and the rebound is controlled by Michael Wiggins.
All of a sudden, we've got into some really individualistic play offensively instead of keeping within our offensive flow and swinging the basketball and see what happens.
There you see the big guy out there, number 44 for Wichita State. Mendelson has checked in the ball game from Grand Junction, Colorado. Personal foul has been called against Illinois State. Foul goes to Chuck Barnes. There you see it. Well, it wasn't a spectacular foul, was it?
No, it really wasn't.
At any rate, we got a timeout on the floor. It's a 15 as we resume it here at Redbird Arena. Decent crowd on a Monday night. The trigger man will be number 25, Rick Kahn. He's the kid from Jacksonville, Illinois. Will make the play in. That's Mendelson with the basketball with Reggie Wilson behind him. Wilson giving away 5 inches in height. This is Wiggins out to Kahn. Kahn holds it high, and on him defensively is Vandegaard for the Birds. Grafovich is number 15. From the side, the long bomb is up and in by Robert George, who is just on fire. That's his second three-pointer. Yep. Well, they didn't start him over at Bradley Saturday, and he played in the second half. He's trying to get back in the good graces by playing well. It's 18-10. Wichita. Vandegaard launches it, can't get it, and George grabs the rebound. Robert George is doing a one-man gang down low to Wiggins. And here is Wichita suddenly with a 10-point lead, and Bob Bender has to have a timeout.
ISU is taking shots, not getting shots off their offense, and I think that's what Coach Bender's going to do.
You can't let a team come into your arena and shoot at a 64% clip.
Well, I've been impressed with how strong Wichita State looks with the ball, how they're attacking our basket. We've got to slow the ball down.
Now Wimhainer to Flores. The ball is battled for over there. A jump ball situation. Illinois State will have it on the held ball. Mike Cohen gets around pretty well. The Wichita State coach over there, he's on one crutch.
Being the only guy here probably that's coached the season with a cast on my leg, it is not easy to do, but he seems to be moving pretty good.
He really is.
Of course, it's easier to move when your team's playing well.
Yeah, he doesn't bother to sit down at all. And here the Redbirds throw it away.
Obviously, our offense is not in sync. No one's thinking like the other one out there, so we're going to have to get it in sync. Have a good defensive stop right here and get ourselves back in the ball game.
The 20-10 contest, and Robert George brings the ball across. Of course, the pregame ballyhoo concerned Paul Grafrovich. He's a fine player, but George has been the big gun thus far. Almost stolen by Wimhainer, but they get it right back to the Shockers. Bob Bender in a very animated discussion with one of the officials over in front of the Redbird bench while all this is going on. Grafrovich had the basketball and apparently had a lane violation.
Coach Bender's upset because Flores got knocked down in the middle of the lane and got pushed down after that.
There you see Coach Mike Cohen. Not to interrupt you, Cal. We got a good look at the Wichita State coach that time. Down the floor quickly, the Birds. Sam Skerich is on the floor now for Illinois State. Sam with the basketball. Elvin Flores. Kahn moves out on Flores. Skerich being covered by Grafrovich. And we have a holdout inside.
44.
Against the big guy. Phil Mendelson picks it up. Only team foul number 5 registered against the Shockers thus far. Wichita State finished 5th in the Valley last year at 6-8. Overall record, as we told you, was 10-19. They've already won as many games this year as they won last year. They have played the likes of Alabama, Oklahoma State, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Tulsa, and Southern Illinois, among others this season. Inbounds to Scott Taylor. Can't get the shot in and was fouled by Michael Wiggins.
Good heads-up pass by Skerich that time.
But you got to put that shot down.
Should have been a 3, but we didn't get it.
There you see it.
Again, it's strength. You're talking about a freshman that not as strong as he's going to be, not as mature as he's going to be. Makes it tough to get the three-point shot.
Again. No, we're not here. Or maybe we did and we missed it.
This is pretty quick.
Scott Taylor, papers in freshman out of Newton, Mass. For the Birds, his free throw rattles off. This kid's 6'7", 215-pounder.
ISU's not playing with very much confidence right now. Something needs to happen. Either Reggie needs to get a dunk or something needs to happen to get the crowd going and start playing well again.
And on the rebound, I think they're going to call Flores going over the top. I think the foul is going to be on Elvin Flores. It is going over the top on the offensive rebound. And things continue to slide for the Birds, who are already down 10 in this one at 20-10 as we reach the midway point in the first half. 10 minutes to go in the first half of the ball game. Robert George penetrates for Wichita. Grafrovich has the basketball, knocked away by Flores. He's wrestled to the floor by Rick Kahn. The kid from Jacksonville picks up the personal foul.
Kahn mishandled a pass on the swing, and we were able to come up with a loose ball. Now maybe we can get a basket out of it.
Kahn, as we told you, 6'5", 210-pound sophomore.
Just simply mishandled the ball, took his eyes off of it, caused a turnover.
Elvin Flores has really given it a defensive effort tonight, though. He's out of there now, but he's had his hand on the basketball numerous times. Richard Thomas low to Reggie Wilson to Taylor, and Taylor was hammered as he went in.
Excellent job by Richard Thomas on the double team, kicking the ball down inside, reacting to the double team, and ended up in an easy basket when.
Foul is on Patrice Scott this trip. There you see it. There's the feed, Reggie Wilson off to Taylor, and it looks almost like Wichita refuses to let Illinois State have anything in close. They're going to foul them first. And the Birds had better start converting it at the line. Scott Taylor misses his 3rd in a row.
That's the hat trick.
Oh boy, of course, maybe that's why they're fouling. Scott Taylor on the season at the free throw line, a 74% shooter, but he's missed his first 3 here tonight, still 20-10. Missed another one. Rebound. Grafrovich pulls it down for Wichita. Paul Grafrovich brings the ball across. Out front to Robert George, still 20-10. George on the drive, and he was fouled as he moved to the basket. Got him set pretty good down there. Was it on Skerich or Richard Thomas?
It was on Skerich, but at least we stopped him this time. May not be legal, but he was stopped.
Well, Robert George will go to the line. You're going to see it again, Cal.
The guards keep taking the ball into the lane and forcing something to happen. We've got to cut down on their penetration and keep the ball outside the lane. When the guard gets in that deep and he's a good guard, he's going to hurt you.
Robert George at the stripe. As we say, he's already had 12 points, and this is the first free throw attempt of the evening. It'll be a 2-shot foul for Wichita State. First time they've been at the line all night. As a team, Wichita shooting 68% at the line on the season. Second throw. Nice rebound, Xavier Williams. X goes high, gets it off to Richard Thomas. Here's Richard pushing the ball up for the Redbirds. Robert George, who's having the half of his life out there defensively on Thomas. Kid from Whitney Young, Richard Thomas, trying to get something going for the Birds. Into Chuck Barnes. Barnes, a freshman out of also Whitney Young in Chicago. And here is Robert George gambling on the steal and almost came up with another one.
They put Richard back on the point. See if he can get organization to the offense, since he's a leader. Even though he's just a sophomore, he's a leader on the floor.
Todd Cagle comes in now. Let's see if that changes the strategy. That will probably put...
It may move Richard back to the wing.
Maybe move back to the wing with Cagle on the point. They take Barnes out. So Illinois State going with a little smaller combination now, at least in the backcourt. And moves Scarich definitely to a forward. So you have Thomas out there with Cagle, Scarich, Williams, and Reggie Wilson. Sam Scarich. Gafrovich is on him defensively. Here is Thomas. Thomas tries to penetrate. There's a holdout on the inside against Patrice Scott in second. Well, the Shockers may get in foul trouble.
Well, they've only got 9 that play much. They've only got 10 on their roster, so that would be an advantage.
Well, let's see, it's a 1-and-1 upcoming here. Sam Scarich talking with Todd Cagle. Reggie Wilson is going to be the free throw shooter. Reggie's 1 out of 2 tonight. Illinois State has made 2 out of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 of 8 at the line thus far.
It has not been a clinic at the line so far.
There you go. So Reggie makes the first one. He has not had a field goal as yet. Of course, Illinois State as a team has only 4 buckets thus far in the ball game. 2 for Todd Wimhainer. Second throw. Air ball on the free throw. 15-foot line. He fired it up 14 feet. Basketball goes back to Wichita.
What is it they say in golf? Never up, never in.
Oh, I guess. Illinois State really struggling here, Cal.
On both ends of the floor right now. They've got to hang tough right here. They're still not out of the basketball game.
Gafrovich trying to move the ball on Cagle. To Patrice Scott. Scott holds it high. Left side of the floor as the basketball is weaved off there to Calvin Thomas, number 33. Stolen by Todd Cagle. Illinois State making some good plays defensively, but boy, they just can't convert. Todd Cagle brings it down for the Birds. Backpedals. Gafrovich moves to it.
The lower the score, though, the more the advantage is toward Illinois State.
Here's Xavier Williams. Dutch shot. Nice play. Xavier Williams.
That was a nice, confident move baseline. He stuck it in the basket. That's what we need.
Going 21-13. Gafrovich a long range. Rebound Mendelson.
We're really having trouble on our matchups for some reason. We're not guarding the people we're supposed to be guarding. That's what Coach Bender was trying to get us into that time. We didn't pick up the ball very quickly.
Sam Scarich was actually grabbed as he tried to drive down the right sideline, and now they come back out front to Richard Thomas. Here is Scarich inside the three-point arc. Rebound pulled down by Robert George. George disguised and pulls it out of there. 10-point lead Wichita, 23-13. Gafrovich drives it inside. Back to George. George on the deck, down the lane. The lane opens. He rolls it up and off, and a foul. Going to call a block against the Redbirds. Against Sam Scarich, apparently.
Again, when the charge was taken, it was 5 feet from the basket. We've got to pick the ball handler up just a little quicker than this.
There's Robert George going in. Boy, I tell you, Scarich looked pretty well planted, didn't he?
Well, it looked to me like it was a pretty good call.
Yeah, let's see what it is from here.
It looks to me like he's moving into it.
Yeah, you're right.
Once he had left the floor.
From the second angle, that is a good call, and Robert George will be at the line for Wichita.
Don't we have 8 angles like they had in the Super Bowl yesterday?
There's 2, I think. Just 2. There's a good look at the Shocker bench. George at the line. Well, he's missed 2 out of 3. One more shot coming to Robert George.
It's hard to believe that we could have played as poorly as we have to this point and still be in the ball game, which means we are doing something right on the defensive end.
Gafrovich out there along with George at the guards right now. They have Calvin Thomas in the game, Wiggins in the ball game, and Mendelson. That's your combination on the floor for Wichita. 24-13. Illinois State trailing by 11. Turnaround, Xavier Williams will not go down. Rebound, hauled down. A great rebound by Robert George. He is doing everything but sell tickets here tonight. George feeds off on the base to Thomas. He walked with it. Robert George out of Irvington, New Jersey. Pretty complete ball player. By the way, Coach Mike Cohen at Wichita State, former assistant to Eddie Fogler out there, hails from New Jersey. That's where he did his high school coaching. 24-13. We hit the 7-minute mark in the first half. Illinois State trailing by 11. Backdoor to Williams. Williams kicks it back off to Todd Cagle. Cagle to Richard Thomas. Straight ahead for the three. It's there.
You don't have to hit a great percentage if you can shoot some threes.
24-16. Closest the Birds have been for a long time. Back within 8. Here's Robert George. Gafrovich has gone out, and Hunt has checked in at that guard spot, and a shot complete air ball on the inside by Calvin Thomas. Illinois State pushing it up the floor. Todd Cagle. Wimhainer. Cagle. Looking inside to Xavier Williams. Big Middleton at 6'11" is playing right behind him. Xavier in heavy traffic. Got the ball to Richard Thomas. They're going to say knocked out of bounds by the Shockers. Kind of a tough pass to handle, wasn't it, as Williams tried to get the ball back outside, and they worked in an area that had no room at all. We're going to see it again.
It looked like he just lost control of the basketball.
Yeah, he did.
It didn't look like it was much done defensively, just his concentration wasn't there.
Gafrovich comes back in the ball game. Guffrovich for Wichita. He and Hunter at the backcourt spots. Here's Richard Thomas exploding. Ball pinned against the glass by Patrice Scott, controlled by Wichita. Thomas comes up with it to Hunt. Hunt brings the ball down quickly. He started last week for George, or last Saturday for George over at Bradley, but I'm sure they're glad they had George back full time tonight. Wiggins loses the basketball. He was out for disciplinary reasons for a half. Wimhainer on the drive. Got it.
It was a good break that time. Richard pushed the ball, got it off to Todd, and had an easy basket.
6-point ball game, 24-18. Richard Thomas almost with the steal. He seems to have a steal the ball game. K.C. Hunt, the ball player. Gafrovich, right side. Here's Hunt. Thomas. Michael Wiggins being guarded by Reggie Wilson. Gafrovich. Thomas on him. Patrice Scott holding high inside. Back out to Michael Wiggins. Paul Gafrovich trying to move on Thomas. Dish is low. Wiggins with the hook. Rebound, Reggie Wilson.
Forced a bad shot. We've really picked it up on the defensive end the last 4 possessions.
Here's Todd Cagle to Todd Wimhainer. Freshman from Quincy. He's bumped on the drive, and a foul is going to go against Thomas. Calvin Thomas picks up the personal foul. Well, to Illinois State's credit, Cal, they were playing terribly, and they battled back in the ball game. I guess, as you point out, defense kept them alive.
It sure did. I mean, they were playing hard-nosed defense the whole time.
There you see it again. There you see the bumping of Wimhainer.
Wichita State could not pull away, and now Illinois State's back in the ball game with 5 minutes left. They're still there within 6 points.
Well, the Birds will have Todd Wimhainer at the line when we get around to this portion of the festivities. Wimhainer is a 74% free throw shooter.
And ISU's free throw shooting has been atrocious up to this point. They might have a lead.
7 points for Todd Wimhainer. That may be his career high. That's off to a good start in this ball game, and it's 24-19. Can pull ISU within 4, and he does.
Well, ISU's been starting to get some transition baskets. They're starting to push the ball up the floor. They've picked up the intensity on defense, forced some turnovers, and that surely helped them get back into the flow of the game.
Robert George covered like a blanket out there by Richard Thomas. Gafrovich comes out to meet the pass. Todd Cagle's on him. They work it low inside to Wiggins. Wiggins goes back door to Kahn. Knocked out of bounds. Good defensive sag. Looked like Richard Thomas got back there. I was screened.
Looks like there was a lot of arm on that one, but
yeah,
the call went. This is big time, I guess.
You're at home. You ought to get a call like that once in a while. Here's Kahn into Robert George. George penetrates. Tries to dish off, and Wimhainer is going to be called for this little reach-in.
Again, George got inside into the lane and forced something to happen. We've got to keep them, got to do a better job of keeping them from penetrating.
I'm going to see it again.
Right there, Richard got beat on the drive.
Mr. George has a rather rapid first step, doesn't he?
Maybe give him a little more room than that, I think.
Yeah, he really.
I'm not quite as quick as Richard is either.
No, I never have been.
No, and probably never will be. I may be past my prime.
Free throw by Robert George is good. That is ridiculous enough not to even mount a comment. The big guy's going to check back in again. Mendelson, all 6'11" of them coming in for Wichita in just a moment. 25-20 Wichita State. They've led throughout. 26-20. Robert George with 16 of his ball club's 26 points. Cal Grafrovich has not scored as yet in the ball game. A pretty good job on him, but of course he hasn't attempted to score. What do we got here?
A little full court pressure. Looks like a 2-2-1, but it forced the turnover.
Vandegaard just threw the ball out of the arena. Over our way.
I think he thought you were open.
I was, but I'm not playing. 26-20, our score remains, and Wichita State has the basketball.
It's a mark of a young team, though. Once a different defensive set's put, you know, there's many times there's panic until they figure out exactly what's going on.
Robert George sails at the con for the layup.
Again, see where George made that pass was inside the MVC, and that's just too much penetration.
Richard Thomas on the drive. Illinois State hanging with them, 28-22, 6-point Wichita State lead, 4-minute mark. Game's first half. George to Mendelson. Here's Kahn coming out of travel. Gufrovich is the playing swing on the point now as they move George off to the other forward. This to complete the circular rotation in their offense. Penetration. Gufrovich pulls up with his first shot of the ball game. I think his first shot. He missed it anyway. And off the floor, Reggie Wilson with the basketball.
I think he had an air ball earlier.
Yeah, okay, so he's 0 for 2.
He doesn't hit anything yet.
Very unofficial. 28-22. Todd Cagle with the basketball. Kahn moves out on Cagle. Little double team as Wichita still playing the man-to-man, but really trying to pressure the young birds inside. Reggie Wilson can't get it to stick. Rebound on the floor. Collision. Thomas called for the foul. Thomas ran into Paul Grafrovich and picked up the personal foul. Cal Grafrovich had his high school number retired out in Nanticoke, Pennsylvania, area high school. He must have been quite a high school player.
He sure must have been. Seems like we got the ball inside really well to Reggie. He turned, he got some body on him, just didn't get the shot down. But it was a good job of getting the ball inside to him.
At the line, Paul Grafrovich for Wichita State. First attempts of the evening. Antoine Hicks in the Illinois State lineup for the first time in a long, long while. Antoine has been suspended for a couple of ball games and was out with a knee injury as well. See what Grafrovich has done at the free throw line on the season. He's a good free throw shooter, as you might imagine. 8.79 at the line.
That's pretty automatic, isn't it?
Guys like that are deadly, aren't they? 29-22, 7 points. Biggest margin I can recall in the first half, I believe, has been 11 points. Second throw, maybe 12. Gafrovich hits a pair. And we have a timeout on the floor. 30-22, the lead to Wichita State. 3:16 for the half.
Let's see how we handle this 2-2-1 zone press. We got about an 8 count on.
Wimhainer to Hicks. That's Wimhainer back against the double team.
We're trying to dribble the ball against zone press, and that's not usually the way to beat it. At least not in high school.
Well, or anywhere else, for that matter. And Gafrovich is called for the foul. Well, Wichita's picked up a bundle of fouls in the first half, but they have spread them around. There's a look at Paul Gafrovich, number 15. He's a Missouri Valley Conference All-Academic selection for the last 2 years.
Todd got the advantage, taking it baseline, and just got bumped and tripped. The call had to be made because he went to the floor.
Wimhainer will be at the stripe shooting 1-1. He already has an 8-point total. Can get to double figures right here. More importantly, pull ISU back within 6. His first one, as you see, is right there. This kid was a standout at Quincy High School. And I have a feeling he's going to be a standout at Illinois State before he graduates.
He's such a tough, competitive kid, and I think that makes a difference in him and other kids the same size. It's not so much, he does have ability, but it's not so much his ability as much as his intensity on the floor.
Second throw will not go, and the rebound is hauled down by Michael Wiggins on the inside. Wichita plays bigger than they actually are. Wiggins out near the timeline as Xavier Williams trying to steal. They go to Hunt. Mendelson posting up with Reggie Wilson on him. That's a size mismatch in favor of Wichita. Ball is deflected away. It's going to belong to Illinois State. Grafrovich tried to get the pass inside. I think to Mendelson there, or Kahn. At any rate, the Shockers knocked it out of bounds, and the Redbirds will have it.
It was a pretty good pass to Mendelson. He just stuck up one hand instead of going to meet the pass with both hands. Again, from a coach's standpoint, it should have been a basket.
Defensive zone, it's Wimhainer. Cross court to Richard Thomas, call for the charge.
Excellent job by Kahn. It may have been partial act, but he did look like he was square to the sideline.
Bender, as you see, is not in agreement at all.
It was just a good act. Kahn was in the right place, and the official didn't quite see it.
No, he was moving.
He was moving. The official was on the back side, though, of the offensive player that made the call.
30-23, 7-point lead, Wichita State. 2:17 for the half. With the basketball is K.C. Hunt.
That was a big turnover right there. I can understand why Coach Bender's upset.
Grafrovich, the ball handler now, to Kahn. Rick Kahn, the kid, as we mentioned repeatedly, hails from Jacksonville, Illinois. Looks low to Mendelson, to Hunt. Hunt feeds off on the base. Grafrovich free for the soft jumper. No good, but the rebound to Wiggins. He leans in and got it. Leaned into Reggie Wilson.
Good job of attacking the weak side boards.
Pretty good looking freshman, Mr. Wiggins, isn't he? 6'7", 215 pound. Of course, at this point in the season, they're not really freshmen anymore. They've been through some wars. Schedule both of these teams played certainly has been very testing. Todd Cagle on the base. Tipped up on the inside. Getting it back is Reggie Wilson. Goes back to the glass. Eventually goes in, but well after the whistle. Appealing his case on the sideline is Mike Cohen with an official, but it's going to be another Shocker first personal foul. This one on Phil Mendelson is second. There you see Mendelson.
Good shot by Todd. Good weak side position by Reggie, who gets a tip and gets it back before he's held.
32-23. Richard Thomas has gone out. Sam Skerich back in for the Birds. On the floor, Xavier Williams, Skerich, Wimhainer, Reggie Wilson, and Todd Cagle as Wilson steps to the line, where he is 2 out of 4 tonight. Hasn't had a field goal as yet. But in all fairness to Wilson, he's really had a lot of defensive attention, primarily from Claudius Johnson, and now from Wiggins, who has slipped in there, seemingly to play the post defensively. There's a good look at Reggie. So Wilson has had every other free throw drop for him. 32-24. Wichita by 8. They've led throughout. 1:25 for the half. Kahn to Hunt. Hunt on the lob. Skerich knocks it away. Reggie Wilson with the theft. Todd Cagle. Xavier Williams.
Reggie Williams Xavier Williams, did an excellent job of running up the floor ahead of the ball, spotting up on the baseline, and Todd Cagle found him for a basket.
Redbirds need a stop here. They're back within 6. 32-26 with a minute to go in the half. Wiggins lost it.
Took the words out of my mouth.
Kahn misses, and we've got traveling violation, I believe, inside. Wichita has really masked the offensive boards pretty well. We're going to see it again. Let's see exactly what did happen here, Cal.
I thought they'd called a foul.
Oh, he stepped out of bounds.
Oh, I see. I thought they'd call a foul, and I didn't see anybody touch him. And it's obviously he did step out of bounds. That is a violation.
Yeah, Kahn had one. Yeah, even in the college game.
That's right.
His foot was about a foot out of bounds, 1.5 feet.
Need to have patience here and get a basket.
That'd be nice if they could get back within 4 at halftime, wouldn't it?
Sure would. After the first 10 minutes we played.
Yeah, down 11 or 12 points. Quite a bit of the first half. Todd Cagle out front. Hunt digs in defensively. Take a look at the matchup. Skerich being covered by Grafrovich over here. They get the ball to Sam Skerich on the baseline. Sam looking inside. 22 seconds on the shot clock. Plenty of time. Half a minute to go in the half. Cagle pulls it up and got it.
Tough shot on the baseline, but Todd's a good shooter. He was in his range.
32-28 our score. Illinois State has come back from the 11-point deficit to pull within 4. We're down to 13 seconds, and obviously Wichita's playing for 1. K.C. Hunt, kid from Chesterland, Ohio, on the dribble. Grafrovich, top of the circle, got it. Inside the arc. And that's it at the end of the half. Grafrovich, who had not scored from the field in the entire first half of the ball game, buried that jumper just inside the arc, and it's a 6-point game at halftime, but the 16-point first half, he was far and away the Wichita scoring leader. Todd Wimhainer led Illinois State in the first half with 9. Well, Gafrovich free underneath. Nobody there to cut him off, and he got the virtual layup to make the score now 36-28, 8-point lead. Illinois State gives up a very, very easy basket to start the second half, and that really hurts after battling back. They got back within 4 late in the first half of play.
ISU's gone with a smarter lineup to start the second half, too. I think they must think they have a better matchup this way.
Cagle misses. Wilson boards. Back to Cagle. Off to Skerich. Sam looks though to Xavier Williams. Turnaround. Rebound. Cagle actually fought for the basketball. Deflected in there. It's going to go to Illinois State.
Good hustle by Todd Cagle. Ended up getting him the turnover. Or getting the ball back.
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't a turnover.
Bob Bender's gotten rid of his sport coat. Rolled up his sleeves on the sideline.
It says, let's go to work.
Inbound to Wimhainer to Cagle. Skerich. Sam behind a momentary screen. Hangs it on the outer iron. Skerrich's shooting skills just have gone downhill recently. Free throw is up, or not free throw, drive-in by George. I was thinking about Sam Skerich, who actually came in with pretty good shooting credentials, and I think not playing all the time. Probably.
Shooting's confidence, and his confidence isn't very high right now, but defensively we allowed a layup by not getting back on defense and pouting about the shot. So I think we've got to do a better job defensively.
10-point game, and Wichita throws it away. Robert George threw the pass for the usually reliable Paul Grafrovich. Grafrovich wasn't ready for the basketball, and they almost wiped out the coach, Mike Cohen, over there as he had the dodge to get out of the way.
Caught it with a crutch.
And swatted back at him. That's what he liked to do. 38-28. Wichita by 10. Illinois State kind of on a treadmill tonight. They closed within 4, played pretty well. Here's Cagle at 3-point range. On the rebound, Xavier Williams high in the air, and Xavier's going to be called over the back. On Williams, that is foul number 1. One of these ball games, Illinois State at home, is going to shoot well, Cal.
Yeah, you would think that home would be the place they would break loose, but I think they've shot better on the road lately.
I think they have too. Grafrovich to Wiggins for Wichita. Robert George. George in the corner to Kahn. Back to George. George at 3-point range. There.
He says, I've still got it.
Well, indeed he does. 21 for Robert George, and now it's a 41-28 score. Wichita on the lead. Wimhainer to Cagle to Skerich. Skerich drives Kahn. Comes way back out front to Wimhainer. Off to Skerich. Skerich free for the 3. Again hangs it short. Rebound Wilson goes down on the floor. Call for traveling. Gonna see this one again.
Looks like Reggie got his legs cut out from under him, but I guess it is a walk, but at the same time, it's a tough landing.
Well, Wiggins moved under him inadvertently. I don't think it was an intentional thing, but as it turned out, it's a traveling violation.
I'm sure Coach Bender thought it was a foul, and he had a better angle than we did.
Illinois State trailing now by a 41-28 count. Down 13. Robert George. Grafrovich. Here's the lob. Ball is thrown away. Illinois State is going to have possession. You know, you wonder how many times you can make a run in a ball game. The Illinois State kids actually battled their way back about 3 times in the first half. They're going to have to do it again. This is their biggest deficit of the game right now, 13.
Wichita State still keeps doing some crazy things with the basketball. The last two of the last 3 trips down the floor, they really made some very bad passes, so that surely gives us hope. If we can put defensive pressure on that, we can force a turnover.
Foul is on Robert George. That's his second. Going to see it again. Now we saw it disappear. There's a look at Robert George, who picks up foul number 2.
Richard tried to take it between 2 players, and that's a tough move.
Richard Thomas. George reaches in from behind. Rebound is hauled down off that defensive iron. In control of the board was Claudius Johnson on the perimeter. Bullseye. Robert George with another one, his 4th 3-pointer of the evening, his 24th point of the ball game. And the Redbirds have to take a timeout.
ISU's having trouble throwing it in the ocean right now. And that basket looks big as an ocean to George.
Illinois State has been outscored 10-0 at the start of the second half. It's 44. Still against the Wichita State man-to-man. Both clubs have man-to-man throughout.
ISU's gone to a high-low set. It looks like they're trying to run a 5-man passing game.
Williams off to Richard Thomas. Thomas's pull-up is pulled down by Wiggins. The Birds still haven't scored in the second half. Grafrovich with the basketball. His bounce pass low to number 24, Claudius Johnson, out to Kahn. Kahn pulls it up. Rebound, Reggie Wilson. Reggie doesn't have a field goal as yet in the ball game for Illinois State. Off to Cagle.
I don't think that was the shot that Coach Cohen wanted.
Illinois State wearing the black ribbons out of memory of, in the memory of Dr. Robert Bone, their former president, and Wichita State also wearing black ribbons in memory of one of their former presidents, Dr. Corbin, who passed away in the fall of the year. Dr. Corbin was the gentleman who was the driving force behind the building of Henry Levitt Arena in Wichita, which is the Shockers' home arena.
Do they still have MTXE on the floor there?
I don't think so. That's the Gene Smithson left. By the way, one of Randy Smithson's products is on this Wichita State team sidelined, not playing tonight, out I think for the season. But Randy is coaching junior college basketball at Butler County Community College in El Dorado, Kansas.
You know more than I ever thought about knowing.
Jump shot by Richard Thomas. His second three-pointer, first buckets of any sort in the second half for ISU, back within 13. The injured player is Tony Johnson, that played for Randy Smithson, who started Normal Community, ISU, and at Wichita State. On the inside, losing the basketball is Claudius Johnson. Here is Flores to Richard Thomas. Back to Flores. Elvin inside the arc. Rebound Kahn. This one you think you may have some momentum going. You can't get a shot to drop. Behind the back dribble by George. You talk about the Fitz pastry. The way things have gone tonight, he can do it all, can he?
I think he got a little fancy that time and lost the ball, but again, got lucky on the call and said it was out on Todd.
Gonna see it here.
That might be one of the reasons he got in trouble with Coach Cohen earlier in the season.
I don't know what the problem was in that situation, but as we told you, Robert George had to sit out the first half at Bradley on Saturday. He only shot 28%, probably, and giving it a second thought. Coach Cohen maybe thinks he should have had Georgia there in the first half. The Braves beat him handily. Wiggins off balance. I'm going to say if that went in, I give up. He just threw it up there. Illinois State has the basketball. Wimhainer. Scott Taylor, Wimhainer, back to Taylor, working on Mendelson, back to Wimhainer from the corner. Rebound pulled down by Michael Wiggins. Wiggins to George. I'll tell you, he gets the ball within 20 feet of the basket, counted.
He explodes to the basket. He's really got some quickness. Richards had trouble keeping him out of the lane all night, and Richards the quickest player we have. 46-31, 15-point lead for the Shockers. 16 has been their biggest edge. Mike Vandegaar with a bounce pass gets it. He didn't get it back, but Wimhainer did. Illinois State is ice cold again. Here is George. George against Thomas, down the lane, off the glass, bullseye. Our shot selection has really deteriorated this half as well. We're getting shots quickly. We're panicking a little bit, as young teams are apt to do.
48-31. This is the biggest lead of the ball game for Wichita. 17 points, and Mr. George has 28 points on the evening. Foul is on Michael Wiggins. Illinois State lineup: Richard Thomas, Wimhainer, Scott Taylor, Elvin Flores, and Mike Vandegaard on the floor for the Birds. Patrice Scott comes in now, and he replaces Michael Wiggins. All right, the ball inbounded to Richard Thomas out near the 10-second line. He's being dogged by Robert George. Robert George doesn't want to come out of the ball game. He's having the night of his career. Pull up by Thomas. Can't get it home with a rebound, Patrice Scott. Illinois State shooting, as of our last report, had fallen off to .333, and it's got to be colder than that right now. 48-31. Wichita by 17. Mendelson, the big guy at 6'11", to Kahn. Kahn tried to get around Vandegaard, and a nice job by Mike on the baseline. Blocked him off, and Kahn stepped out of bounds.
It was a good back cut. Kahn couldn't quite handle the ball. He got good help side from Vandegaard.
Mendelson to Kahn, and he just merely stepped out of bounds. The basketball belongs to Illinois State. Boy, what an uphill climb's going to be required now. Down 17, 13:52 to go, an eternity to go in the ball game, but
there's plenty of time, but we're digging a pretty deep hole.
Scott Taylor to Vandegaard. Finally, the Birds get one down the perimeter. 5 points scored by ISU in the second half. They have been outscored 14-5 in the second half of the ball game. 48-33. Setting the pick is number 24, Claudius Johnson. Johnson gets it back. Little fadeaway inside. No good. Kahn with the board. Heavy traffic. His fadeaway is up and in. Kid from Jacksonville, Illinois, muscle the ball home on the inside for his second field goal to make it 50-33. Right side of the floor is Scott Taylor. Taylor looking to Reggie Wilson down low. Back to Taylor. Webhainer with the drive. Thomas back to Vandegaard. Tip up on the inside. Ball knocked out front, controlled by Wichita. Grafrovich all the way to the glass, up and in. Paul Grafrovich with his 8th point.
Richard Thomas actually tried to grab Grafovich at that time and stop him, and still could not get it done.
52-33 Wichita State. If you see KAKE's call letters on your screen, we are taking a joint feed with that Wichita station that's doing the ball game live back to Wichita tonight, taking their pictures, and so that's the reason for that particular graphic. A collision and a foul has been called, and it finally goes against the Shockers. Robert George picks up foul number 3.
Mike Vandegaard tried to shoot the ball. He was fouled out of frustration. He just shoved George down.
Not a bad shiver, is it?
Well, he couldn't have picked a better guy, I guess.
He's the guy with the hot hand. We'll see it again. Yeah, that's a two-hand job. That's a pretty good push there.
Some call that an intentional foul.
Kahn has left the ball game.
Our shot selection has really deteriorated this half, and as a result, to shoot a good percentage, you've got to get good shots when you come down the floor. We're actually trying to get our shots too quickly, having a little bit of panic, and as a result, we're not shooting a very good percentage this half.
There's a look at Mike Vandegaard, made the first free throw. Robert George, thank goodness, has left the ball game for a while. 52-34. Freshman Mike Vandegaard, Bloomington, Minnesota. Illinois State with a lineup on the floor now of a junior college transfer, Reggie Wilson, a freshman Vandegaard, a freshman Wimhainer, a freshman Taylor, and a sophomore Todd Cagle. 52-35. Of course, that's been the story of most of the season. Grafrovich off to Calvin Thomas. Bounce pass low. Grafrovich to Thomas. They get it off to Patrice Scott. Pinned from behind by Scott Taylor. They're going to say Taylor was over the back. But a very aggressive defensive play that I know will not make Bob Binder too unhappy. We're going to see it again here, Cal.
Good job of doubling down on Grafovich, and he was just strong enough to get the ball away. In most places, that would have been a jump ball, and it is ISU possession.
But as it turns out, Patrice Scott will be at the free throw line.
Good call.
Yep. Scott is from Overland Park, Kansas, Shawnee Mission Northwest High School. 53-35. And Patrice Scott contributed a pair of free throws to the Shocker attack. Antoine Hicks in the Illinois State lineup. Chuck Barnes in the Illinois State lineup. Wimhainer leaves. Taylor leaves. So you really got, well, I guess you got about the same size lineup, although Hicks is smaller than Thomas. So you've got Cagle and Hicks, Wimhainer, Chuck Barnes on the floor, the freshman from Chicago, and also Reggie Wilson. Against the full court pressure, here's Todd Cagle. Illinois State holds an all-time series edge on Wichita, 12 wins to 10. Grafrovich inside to Claudius Johnson. That's where Paul Grafrovich is so valuable, Cal. He really handles the ball well.
And they're really doing a good job of getting the ball inside and getting good shots every time down against Illinois State's defense.
56-35. It's now a 21-point ball game. Illinois State was hopeful this was the night they could get one in the win column, but boy, oh boy, it's really been a struggle. Grafrovich has picked up the personal foul. His second of the ball game.
Wichita State's doing a good job of staying aggressive defensively and trying to double team in some different places. They're double teaming on the wing right there with Vandegaard and ended up fouling.
Okay, timeout on the floor. 11:30 for the ball game. 56-35. The Shockers on the lead. Turnovers to Illinois State's 9, but that shows you how a turnover statistic can be very, very misleading. Antoine Hicks playing with that big brace on his right knee, almost threw it away to Todd Cagle. Here's Barnes, taken away from Barnes. This play stolen by Calvin Thomas. Grafrovich on the drive got it. Now Paul Grafrovich now with 10 points, and it's 58-35. Illinois State way, way behind, and this one down 23 right now. Vandegaard to Antoine Hicks. Cross court to Cagle. Cagle just barely inside the arc. The ball caroms up, goes over the backboard and out of bounds, and Wichita State will have possession. Well, you talk about a tough night at the old ball yard, Cal.
I'm telling you, when you cannot shoot the ball well, it doesn't matter what else you do, you don't look good. And obviously ISU is getting a lot of shots. They're not turning the ball over much, but the shots are not the quality they need.
Number 11 out front is Casey Hunt with the basketball. He and Grafovich forming the backcourt combination right now for Wichita State. The pull up on the right side, Calvin Thomas.
Wichita State can't do much wrong right now.
And they're playing with all the confidence in the world, shooting at a 61% clip on the road. They better bottle this one, Cal, because that's not going to happen too many times in the future. You just don't go into the other guy's arena normally and shoot 61%. Barnes to Cagle. Reggie Wilson back to Cagle. Finally buries the three. 60-38. 22-point margin as Wichita State's Hunt comes to the timeline, working on Cagle. Cagle doing a good defensive job. There you see Todd chest to chest with him. As Hunt drives it right side, Calvin Thomas. Thomas inside the arc. That was almost a three. Pulled it up short, and Antoine Hicks for the Birds. Number 11 down the right side of the floor as we view it. Vandegaard, Reggie Wilson to the glass, will not go, and a foul is going to be whistled against the Wichita State's Calvin Thomas. Boy, Reggie Wilson can't buy one tonight either.
I was going to say, that was a really good job. They got the ball inside. Could have easily been a three-point play, but we just couldn't get it down.
Well, we're going to see it the other way now as there we go. Well, I'll tell you, you can't do much else to put the ball in the hole, can you, Cal?
Did a really good job. I mean, just wouldn't go down. It looks like that we had wholesale substitution. I cannot believe a coach would wholesale substitute like that. Can you?
Yeah, I can.
You've seen some of our games, huh?
Yeah, I think so. Free throw by Wilson. It won't go. Reggie is 3 out of 7 at the line. Illinois State is 50% at the free throw line tonight. Second one is good. 60-39. And man's back out there, Robert George. Here's Wiggins. Wiggins was going for the slam dunk and was really hammered by Reggie Wilson.
It was a good clean block, but he was going in for the dunk, and he landed right on his tailbone.
See it again.
Or his hip. He really went down hard.
Tremendous play by Reggie Wilson. Unfortunately, Wiggins was shaken up on the play.
He went in hard.
I think it's just the way Wiggins fell, wasn't it?
Well, just a tough landing. Anytime you come from that high up and you land and the first thing you hit is anything but your feet, it hurts.
Well, Wiggins in a lot of discomfort down there, and there you can see Coach Mike Cohen with his crutches out on the floor, checking his freshman forward from Decatur, Georgia.
It's always scary when a kid goes up in the air and gets his feet taken out from under him. It is always scary.
They're working on the hip. Now ISU's trainer is going out to check as well. In a 60-39 ball game, Wiggins, as you saw, was driving in. I think he was looking for the dunk.
Definitely.
And Reggie Wilson just got airborne and
said no dunk tonight.
Yeah, airborne, and came up with a big, big play. Illinois State Ball Club is back out on the floor, but they haven't moved Wiggins from under the basket as yet. As they continue to check with him here. Cal, you know, we've talked so much this year about a young Illinois State basketball team, and you keep seeing instances of things that young teams do constantly coming up, and yet this ball club has played 17 games, and I know Bob Bender must be wondering just how many games these kids really need to quit making some of the mistakes they're making, but some groups mature faster than others, don't they?
Yes, I think so. I was kind of watching what was going on the floor there. Coach Bender did a pretty good job. Came down to Mike Cohen and said that, you know, he was sorry that happened. That both kids were just playing hard. Yeah, I think it's time for us to say we're not really freshmen anymore. Let's start playing like upperclassmen. And I think that's what Coach Bender wants to happen with this team, is they take it up a notch and start executing and quit worrying about records and winning and losing, but just play hard every night.
Patrice Scott will shoot the free throws for Wiggins. Two-shot foul. He has one more attempt. And I know there's a lot of thinking with the kids, and you hear a lot of talk about, well, wait till next year, but you still have a lot of ball games to play this season.
Yes, you really do, and you want to end this season on a positive note, and this hasn't been one tonight.
61-39, Wichita State. Richard Thomas to Wimhainer. Reggie Wilson down low inside. Boy, they really sag on him. They've done a great defensive job. It's Claudius Johnson primarily on Wilson. Look at the battle inside. Here's Reggie. Dishes back to Vandegaard and a foul.
Really, I've been impressed with Wichita State's defense all night. They've changed it up. They've gone from the zone press. They've trapped in different spots in the half court and the full court. And they've really done a good job of bottling up.
This is Patrice Clark with a good defensive effort in there, but I guess it wasn't either.
They've done a very good job of bottling up Reggie inside.
I was going to say it wasn't either, but Patrice Scott, not Clark, did get called for the foul.
That's Petula Clark.
Yeah, right. She sings, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Actually, it was Johnson did the defensive damage, but Scott got called for the foul. 61-39. Illinois State with the basketball. Flores. Boy, I'll tell you, nothing goes down for Illinois State. We got to go out and check that basket, make sure there's not a lid over it. Redbirds have had an 11-point second half. We're at the 8:59 mark. And out of that total, only 3 field goals in the entire second half. 2 of them have been threes. Here's Robert George with 28 points, working on Wimhainer, whirling. Todd Wimhainer, flat-footed, got the rebound. The kid from Quincy pushes it up to Elvin Flores. Elvin to Wimhainer. 3-point range. Ducks inside the arc. Passes the ball back to Flores. Vandegaard. Mike Vandegaard rolls it home.
Good post entry. Got the roll.
9 points for Vandegaard. 61-41. 20-point Wichita lead with 8:19 left.
You know, Illinois State's down 20 and has not been in the ball game for a long time. But you know that 3-point line with 8 minutes to go, there's just a lot of time left.
Yeah, it really is, but you got to heat up.
And you got to stop 21.
Yeah, Wimhainer is on him, has been on him most of the night. Johnson on the drive. Here's Claudius with a little fadeaway. And Wichita just keeps throwing them in. 63-41. Illinois State at halftime was down only 6 at 34-28. Then they were outscored at 10-0 start of the second half. Vandegaard again.
Good skip pass over the top by Richard for the basket.
11 points for Vandegaard. 20-point ball game with 7:32 to go. Wichita 63-43. Paul Grafovich out front to Robert George. Gets a pick from Claudius Johnson. Here's George, number 21 on the pull-up.
George is trying to have his career night right now. The last 2 times he came down the floor,
I think he's already had it with 28. He wants to hit that 30-point mark. Here's Wimhainer. Wimhainer was going to fire up the shot, elected not to, as Grafovich moved right on him. Elvin Flores. Reggie Wilson posting up down low against Claudius Johnson. Still can't get it in. Finally does.
Having been down 20 with 7 minutes to go, what your first goal is to get it to 10. If you can get it to 10, you're still in. You can still come back into the ball game. I know it's a long shot, but you've got to keep your kids working. You've got to set small goals. Even if they can't win the basketball game, you've got to start. You want to have a positive feeling when they go out. There's the offensive foul.
Yep. That's number 3 on Claudius Johnson. Johnson has 3. Robert George has 3. Patrice Scott off the bench has 3.
To have a chance, you've got to have every possession's got to be a good possession and end up in a score. That's your only chance.
We got a timeout. 6 minutes, 40 seconds left. It's on the screen. That's the reason. All right, it's inbounded. But nice to work with these folks. At the 10-second line, it's Vandegaard. Vandegaard, a couple of dribbles and he's across, and the pressure is really on, as at that timeout, I think Wichita coach Mike Cohen talked about exactly the same thing Cal Hubbard talked about. They got the big lead, but he doesn't want to let Illinois State back in the ball game. There's an ill-advised pass and a steal.
Just trying to force something that wasn't there.
Robert George walks it up for the Shockers against Richard Thomas. Birds have a tough week. Creighton and Southern Illinois remain this week. Got blocked inside, stole by Vandegaard. Mike with a good defensive play. Made a couple early in the ball game. Here's Richard Thomas against George. His pull-up is short. Rebound. Scott Taylor had his hand on the basketball, and they say Taylor lost it out of bounds. Kahn is number 25 for the Shockers. He's double-teamed. Pretty good defensive pressure, but now let's see what's going to happen. The Illinois State let him off the hook by fouling him finally. Either Chuck Barnes or Taylor. Yep.
Or Thomas.
Called on Thomas. Well, I would have called the whole roster. We would have gotten it eventually. Foul number 3 on Richard Thomas.
I think they got the 3rd foul. I think they were beating on him pretty good.
Wichita inbounds. Robert George had a 16-point first half. He's had a 12-point second half. He gets the ball off to
We're going to take a little time off now. You can't lose if you don't, even if they don't score every possession right now. If they run it down 45 seconds, they're going to win the ball game.
Well, the Shockers are riding the, I was going to say the crest. They're riding the despair of a 2-game losing streak, as are the Redbirds, and a road victory. They are one of the, I think there's only 2 teams in the Missouri Valley that have won 2 road games.
Tell you what,
Wichita's one of them.
I think I would keep it in 21's hands too.
Yeah, the way he's playing tonight. Kahn has the shot blocked by Vandegaard, and Vandegaard's going to pick up the foul.
They did a good job of entering the ball into the post. Got a good shot and went to the free throw line. That's what you want out of your delay offense. Good shots every time and milk the clock, run it down. It's pretty obvious it was from the side and from behind, and there's really no other way to call that.
Yep, got him with the body. At the line will go Rick Kahn. Kahn with a couple of field goals. These are his first free throw attempts of the evening. Played in the Illinois Basketball Coaches Association All-Star game following his senior year with the Jacksonville Crimsons. He has one more throw.
He never missed any free throws against us.
Now you played against him when you coached at Lincoln, right?
That's right. Well, he and Andy Kaufman, you might have heard that name.
Yeah, he was the number 2 scorer to Kaufman. That's not a real surprise.
Well, we split with him, so I was feeling pretty good about it.
A pretty good ball club. Vandegaard holding. Low to Chuck Barnes. Barnes drew the foul. We might mention our next telecable broadcast will feature Cal Hubbard's U-High Pioneers.
Go you Pioneers.
Pioneers against St. Pete Academy of Peru. We'll have that for you on Friday night at 10 o'clock. There you see it inside. As Chuck Barnes is fouled.
Did a good job getting the ball in. We can't get to 3-point play, but they are getting the ball into the post.
Illinois State's field goal dearth in the second half has really been the problem. They have only 6 buckets from the field in the second half. We're 4:55 mark and counting. And Saturday night, of course, at 10 o'clock, we'll have Illinois State against the Southern Illinois Salukis of Rich Herron. Rich will be off suspension by then, won't he? He was suspended 1 game for a friendly discussion of officials on his post-game radio show.
I'm glad they don't do that in the Corn Belt.
None of you guys would be around. Second throw by Barnes is there. 64-47. I understand that legislation's up for discussion, and you and John Snyder voted against it. Any truth in that?
I'm sure we would if we had the opportunity.
Robert George sails down. Great feed, easy bucket. Patrice Scott off a fine assist from Robert George.
Good penetration, a quick basket.
Wichita is having a night, no question about it. 66-47. The Shockers seeking their 11th win of the year. Kahn on the steal. Their quickness has been a real problem for Illinois State tonight. I don't think, I'm not sure the Redbirds expected quite this much quickness from Wichita. They hadn't seen them before. They have to play them in Wichita later in the season. That's an unhappy thought, too.
They're intelligent with their quickness, too. I've really kind of been impressed with Wichita State's game tonight.
Grafrovich, oh, beautiful job. Paul Grafrovich shook himself free out front, got all the way in. Nobody cut him off. He had the easy pull-up.
A very smart player. Didn't force it, took what was there.
Wimhainer. Air ball. Patrice Scott. There's Illinois State shooting frustration really coming to the fore now. And it's been there all night. As Cal, you pointed out, the Birds just haven't been getting very many good shots, or haven't been taking many good shots. Todd Cagle.
All you can do is just keep playing.
Here's Barnes. Three-pointer by Chuck Barnes. Yeah, you have to play out of a situation like this, and you just have to keep battling. It's a character check. There's no question about that, whether you're a veteran team or a young ball club. The coaches will keep battling, I'll guarantee you that. And it's not that the players aren't trying hard. They just are having atrocious shooting luck. Patrice Scott missed. Claudius Johnson. And I think Vandegaard is called for the foul by Ron Zester underneath. as they came out of traffic, and it is. Mike Vandegaard picks up the personal foul. We'll see it again.
Good job of penetration down the lane. End up getting a good shot off of it.
Well, the crowd responds as Rick Bittenhausen takes off his warm-up jacket and checks in. The kid from Piatone, 7 feet, 255, a senior. For those of you unfamiliar with the ISU program, Rick is a walk-on, came out a couple of years ago. Last season, told Bob Bender he'd like to be with the basketball team, help him in practice, and give him the look of a big guy. And, of course, he plays very sparingly, but get an opportunity here tonight. As Robert isn't George, it's Claudius Johnson at the line. I expect to see Robert George up there all night long, Cal, I guess. 69-50. Brian Bloodworth, the sports editor of the Panagraph, will be our analyst for the U-High St. Bede game Friday night. That in itself makes it worth viewing. Of course, Cal's got a pretty good ball club and a matchup with a team that defeated him in their first meeting.
We've got another ball game before that with Olympia tomorrow night that we're worried about right now. But you're on broadcasting next
No,
week, right?
you're paid to worry about all of them. Okay, 2:51 left. Timeout at 69-50. Wichita back in just a moment. Very, very difficult to handle. Illinois State is now shooting 34%, 17 of 50. Wichita State shooting 587, 27 of 46. ISU at 12 of 21 at the line to enhance the frustration tonight. 11 of 15 at the line for Wichita. Bittenhausen, Rick turns, got it! Place goes wild, Rick Bittenhausen. 69-52 on the turnaround. The big 7-footer with his first field goal, not his first one of the season, but one of few, 223. Of course, Rick doesn't play very often. Here's Patrice Scott. Bittenhausen moves out on him. Hunt penetrates, gets the ball off to Scott. Scott dunks it over Bittenhausen. Rick kind of looked up and said, where's that basketball coming from?
It was Johnson on the dunk, and he wanted to challenge the 7-footer.
The Johnson or Scott?
It was Johnson,
okay.
24.
I've seen so many Wichita players up around that rim tonight I can't identify them anymore.
Johnson's still pretty excited, I would say it would be.
Let's see, we're going to see it. Yeah, you're right. It was Claudius Johnson. Going to see it again. Yeah,
good extension on that dunk.
Yeah, I guess so. All we saw was from the waist, and then slowly his whole body moves into the picture. At the line is Chuck Barnes. Foul was on Calvin Thomas, his third.
Wasn't he a running back for the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, not tonight. 71-53. Second throw. Bittenhausen with the rebound. Rick gets it back, pokes it up. Illinois State will inbound the basketball. 71-53. Bob Bender still talking to the official over there.
Well, Rick just got butchered on the rebound shot, and he got no call.
Minute and 56 seconds to go in the ball game as now they're going to counter Bittenhausen with Mendelson. Bittenhausen. 71-55. Are we seeing something here, Cal?
I don't think so. I think that it's nice that a kid like Bittenhausen has been out and worked hard is getting a chance to play before the home crowd.
Gafrovich back out on the floor for Wichita. Illinois State lineup. Taylor, Bittenhausen, Barnes, Cagle. And where's the fifth one? Scott Taylor. Wichita with Robert Johnson back in the ball game, replacing K.C. Hunt. Mendelson at 6'11" checks in.
It's interesting starting the point guard down in the middle on the down pick.
Gafrovich gets the bounce pass into the corner, and now he's going to direct traffic because they're going to put George over here in the wing. There you see Gafrovich. Fine playmaker, good heady ball player. To number 33, who is Calvin Thomas against the Illinois State pressure. Ball was knocked away, and Thomas picked up the foul. Good play by Chuck Barnes. Fourth foul on Calvin Thomas as Chuck Barnes comes up with the steal with a minute and 24 to play. The Redbirds will go to 3-15 and 3-5 in the Missouri Valley Conference. Wichita State will advance to 11-9 overall and 4-3 in the league. Barnes is 3 of 4 at the line tonight. for a 6-point tabulation, as the 3-point field goal as well. Here's a young man I think the Illinois State staff sees a great deal of potential in, from Whitney Young High School in Chicago. Good look at Chuck Barnes.
He's made as much improvement as anybody from the first practice until the present time.
Chuck's second throw. 71-57. Walking the ball up the floor now is Johnson. Two of the walk-ons are going to get in the ball game for Illinois State in a moment. Bob Binder talked to him over the sideline. That would be William Leach and also Kelly Martin. Here is Robert George with Cagle all over it. Hook pass off to Claudius Johnson. Down low to Calvin Thomas. Thomas circles out of traffic, and Chuck Barnes comes up with the steal. Second steal for Barnes here in a matter of a second or two. To Todd Cagle. We're under a minute. Elvin Flores back to Cagle. Cross court to Scott Taylor. Scott drives for the basket. The ball is swapped away. Knocked away and stolen by Claudius Johnson. Illinois State has turned the ball over so many times trying to drive to the basket. 71-57, down to 35 seconds. Whistle out front, foul on Elvin Flores, and at the free throw line will go Paul Gafrovich. Gafrovich will step to the free throw line. Now the two youngsters from Illinois State, William Leach and Kelly Martin. Leach is from Proviso East. He's 6'3", 190, a freshman. Kelly Martin is from Providence St. Mel, 6'4", 175, a sophomore. Martin is wearing number 23, and William Leach number 43 from Illinois State.
Both are from basketball schools.
Well, I guess. Chris Potter from McPherson, Kansas, a 6', 180-pound freshman walk-on, a redhead, number 10, checks in for Wichita State. Grafovich at the free throw line. He is 2 out of 2 there tonight. 12 points, make it 13. Paul Grafovich, kind of a coach's player, isn't he, Cal?
Yes, he really is. He's a very smart player. I was just watching the coach talking to the walk-on from Wichita State, saying he looked at the three-point line and he acted like he ordered him shooting the ball. So
Grafovich nets both free throws. He will leave.
I've been impressed with the way that Grafovich doesn't force anything. He always plays under control. He really seems to be a heady ball player.
Yeah, two-time Missouri Valley Conference all-academic choice. Good heady ball player.
I thought he was a smart player.
Oh, you can tell that. Yeah, that's good coaching. Barnes, three-point range. Chuck Barnes with his second three-pointer. So Chuck has had a pretty good last 3 minutes here.
Yes, he really has.
It's down to 13 points, 73-60. Ball knocked away near the 10-second line. Little pressure applied by William Leach. He played for Bill Hitt up in Proviso East. That's a program that probably is going to be ranked number 1 this week after Rock Island was upended Saturday night at Peoria Central. Calvin Thomas inbounds the basketball, and here is Chris Potter with it. To Middleton. Middleton, the big guy at 6'11", clears it out to Calvin Thomas. We're down to 4 seconds to play in the ball game. Down to 3. Hunt with the basketball. 1 second. It's all over. Basketball game is history, and Wichita State finally wins it by 13. Actually, a ball game. Unfortunately, it wasn't as close as that final score indicates, to be quite frank about it.